First up on the bulletin today, India's EV charging story is scaling up fast. Earlier today, Bengaluru-based EV charging and energy management platform Kazam reported revenues of 40 crore rupees for FY25 at a 3.5x growth number. The company now says it's on track for 100 crore rupees in annual run rate. The target, Kazam says, will be achieved by the last quarter of the present fiscal. The business update comes even as the EV charging platform has crossed 120,000 chargers across the country. Kazam has already enabled over 7 million charging sessions through this infra, with charger integrations already up 76% in just 6 months. The startup's energy sessions, meanwhile, have risen 60% as it now manages over 9,000 megawatt hours of energy every month. Part of the business, Kazam says, also involves partnerships with over 14 OEMs, including a recent network integration with Maruti Suzuki. A large part of its revenue engine, it says, is being driven by deeper penetration into Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. The startup has raised over $19 million across 2 funding rounds, with recent infusion being deployed towards R&D activity. To speak to us now about where the startup goes from here, what Kazam's next revenue target is, and what its expansion roadmap will look like, I am now joined by the company's co-founder and CEO, Akshay Shekhar. Akshay, good to have you with us on the bulletin. My first question to you. You've already announced that Kazam is on track to hitting 100 crore rupees by revenue by 2026. I would also assume also means the last quarter of FY26 itself. What are the engines powering this growth really, Akshay?
I think a couple of things, right? In totality, if you see the EV sector in itself, it has got now at least double-digit penetration in some of the categories, especially if you see the three-wheeler category or the two-wheeler category is also almost tending towards a double-digit penetration in terms of new vehicle sales. This is one of the key things. The second thing that we've realized is the tier 2 and tier 3 markets are actually the ones which are buying all electric vehicles far more than the urban landscape in itself. And our penetration to service almost 10,000 pin codes is really helping us get to this stage.
Akshay, now you at Kazam have also said that you've closed the last fiscal at a 40 crore rupee revenue at a 3.5x growth rate. So what's the total outlook going to look like for the ongoing fiscal, and how much faster do you hope to grow from here?
I think it's been a very interesting journey with Kazam. We just turned 5 a few weeks ago. And first year we spent all our efforts in just building the product out. So it's effectively literally 4 years of getting revenues out of the products that we built out. I think what we saw was this, growth of every year. We saw around 4x, 3.5 to 4x growth every year on year. And I think we will continue to trend that, but maybe on a slightly lower side, maybe close to around 2.5 to 3x in this financial year. So you would see us somewhere around 110 crores of recognized revenue and maybe an exit of around 120, 130 crores.
So where does Kazam's charging network go from here, Akshay? You've said that you've already onboarded 120,000 chargers, 7 million sessions, and have recorded a 60% increase in these energy transactions itself since last year. So where do these numbers go into 2026 and beyond?
Yeah, so I think interestingly, home charging in itself is divided into 3 parts. One is home charging, second is community, and third is public. So what is home? Home is a charge point that is put in your personal garage. It could be inside an apartment where you park your vehicle dedicatedly. It could be your individual house. So this product gets bundled with every vehicle that you buy. So typically Kazam gets bundled with every three-wheeler manufacturer that manufactures it and sells it to consumers. So most of the auto rickshaw drivers, where you see they get the Kazam charge point bundled along with them for their home use case. The second use case is the community charge point use case. We will see a lot of these fleet guys moving to EVs, and they need a place to charge their vehicles, especially in the dark stores. So that is the second use case. And, even there, the penetrations are very low right now. The third use case is the public charge point use case, where you would want to charge on the public highways. And even those are at a very, very minuscule number. If I just had to give you a number, India is at, one charge point to every 70 vehicles. And if you compare that to say a Europe or US market, it is 1 is to 20. So, we have a very, very high, way to walk towards it. And our penetration rates are also very low. So I think, just if you look at the home charging market in itself, that itself, we might end up doing more than 150 to 2,000 charge points this year alone.
So, what's the expansion roadmap looking like for you at the moment? Which geographies are you yet to establish presence in, and which of these will actually take form and shape in the new year?
I think for us, most of our revenue today only comes from one category, which is a three-wheeler charging category, right? We are going segmental. So we will go from three-wheelers to now, say, buses and two-wheelers. Those are the two markets that we are currently targeting right now. India itself is a very, very, very large market for us. So, we think that 80 to 90% of our revenue going forward will also come from India. We have just started building out on our international foray, and markets specifically that we have seen right now working for us are markets like Middle East, where you see the higher paying potential for the same kind of services and software as well.
And within India itself, Akshay, where are you looking to expand?
So I think the way we functioned out right now was we went out and we kind of got to 10,000 pin codes with the three-wheeler category. These includes, tier 3, tier 2 markets. My biggest markets today are places like Siliguri, Kuch Bihar, Bareilly, Lucknow, and so on and so forth. These are not the metro cities. So I think fair bit, this would move from this 8 to 10,000 pin codes to maximum of 15,000 pin codes when we get into the two-wheeler category as well in terms of charge points. But most of it, I think the geographic wise, from an India point of view, we are covered. It's more about segment expansion that we really focus on.
And what kind of a timeline do you foresee for that pin code jump to actually take place?
I think that is a course of around 8 months that you will see this happen. In the last 12 odd months, we moved from almost 2,000 pin codes to 10,000 pin codes. And there are only very few pin codes that are left to kind of hit for us. So, you will see the next 5,000 pin codes be unlocked in the next 6 to 8 months.
Right, and what are your plans on the funding front, Akshay? You raised $6.2 million in Series B funding a little over 6 months ago. When is the next round, and how much are you looking to raise?
Actually, Jude, you know what? I don't want to raise capital. I want to be in the situation that I am almost tending to be profitable. And once you are profitable, I think you hit a new landmark altogether in terms of not wanting to raise capital. I think our goal internally is not to actually raise capital, to further see this, because we are able to fund our growth journey as well in India itself. If we may want to experiment with a newer category, so because we have a base of almost 150,000 drivers who are charging their vehicle on a day-to-day basis, there is a new opportunity that is coming up on Kazam, which is for us to trade energy and allow consumers to buy energy at a cheaper cost through renewables. And this is happening, across India, with the government launching something called as Unified Energy Interface under IES, which is Indian Energy Services under the Ministry of Power. So this will allow consumers to buy energy from solar rooftops, and those are some new avenues in which we would want to raise capital. We're still early days on that sense, so those new businesses will actually need capital to be infused.
Right, let's zoom back for a bit now, by the way, and I'm sure not having to raise capital is a happy place to be in. But zooming back, let's talk about charging infrastructure for a bit in India. What do you think needs to be the pace at which capacity is to be installed in order for EV adoption to continue at its present rate and present growth trajectory?
See, there are again two legs to it. One is, where you would charge 80% of your time, which is your own house, because your vehicle is parked there. There are very few times as a individual passenger vehicle that I would do intercity. So that has to solve very quickly. And most of urban India lives in apartments, and having building codes that allow us to do this becomes very essential. Like places like Tamil Nadu, states like Tamil Nadu, etc., have already taken these step in terms of making this a bylaw in the urban affairs ministry. So that is one, like, that really has to happen, and for that you almost need anywhere between 200 to 300,000 charge points for the year, next year itself. The second is the public charging infra. Today we stand somewhere around 25,000 public charge points in the country. This will literally have to be 3x if you want to kind of keep up the pace of ensuring that people get enough charge points on the way to charge, and have that mindset that they will not have any kind of range anxiety going forward.
Now, Akshay, are there any challenges to the pace of device agnostic installations, a space that you are particularly involved in, and and India's EV transition at a broader level? What's the way around these challenges if they persist?
I think one thing that has happened very recently is that the PLI scheme, the incentive for manufacturing electric vehicles in three-wheeler category has hit its target. So basically, they wanted to fund a certain amount, and those targets have been hit. So you will see that the subsidies are being pulled out, especially starting from this month, and it's an interesting time to see in terms of sales. But what we have also realized from the market is that the parity of owning an EV, especially in the three-wheeler category, has already hit, especially with lithium-ion prices going down. So that's a good sign in one way. And if you're able to sustain that, then EV really becomes unstoppable in that force. The second thing that I see in terms of challenges is the other category, especially the four-wheeler category, is still in the single digit, lower single digit in terms of penetration in new vehicle sales. And that really has to keep in pace. You will see a lot of competition coming in as well with, VinFast, etc., coming in the market and trying to sell very high feature loaded vehicles in the market. Maruti Suzuki has also entered the market. So I think these are again interesting times that are coming, but that is again a challenge that is there. I think the last piece is the entire, need for rare earth metals that is needed for this industry, and not a lot of the supply chain has been solved completely. So having those dependencies in supply chain really pushes back on production, hence the sale of vehicles, etc., and it's a complete value chain that kind of gets disrupted. So I think these are some few challenges that are there very quickly at this point of time for us to solve.
It's interesting that you bring up rare earth itself. In fact, it's been an ongoing discourse in the context of supply chain and the disruption surrounding it. Do you think there could ever be a possibility of working out a game plan, given the criticality of rare earth minerals to EV operations and EV charging itself? And what do you think that game plan might be so as to ensure supply chain continuity?
Yeah, I think, Jude, sometimes you need to get hurt to kind of get back up. And I think this was very good in terms of, it created that necessity for invention. And a lot of OEMs that I know are already working on rare earth free motors that kind of help them, sustain this altogether. I think there was another push that came all together in terms of, taking the ores and ensuring that, we are able to process it ourselves in the country so that we don't depend on processing them. Obviously, it does take a lot of time in terms of to get those technology here in India and to ensure that we are able to process the rare earth here in India in itself. And I think both these legs have started very far in a very fast pace in the country right now, which will help us kind of be sustainable, but it will still take us a couple of years to kind of get there.
Right, before we end then, let me ask you, the Union Budget 2026 is merely weeks away from where we're at, and the government has in the past shown impetus towards prioritizing EV infrastructure and fiscal needs surrounding it. What more do you think our policymakers must do to further this goal?
I think, if you look at the two and three wheeler category specifically, the fast charging network itself does not really exist except for private players creating some of them. And I think that is very, very important if you want to see more vehicles who have aspirations, who want to go from city to city or even take a longer distance in that point of view. The government in PM e-drives did come up with certain set of policies very early on, but none of them have actually got into implementation phase. And I think there is need for some private players to kind of intervene and play a role in this. And I think that if there are, carve outs that have been created in this budget that allow people to kind of push this infrastructure very fast, would be something that would be very, very helpful. The second thing that is needed is, I think, a little bit more relaxation in the PLI scheme, because right now, I know we have hit the targets in the three-wheeler category, but if that is not renewed, there is a high chance that it could actually go back into the previous state era. And I think there has to be a little bit of cushioning that has to be given, maybe not at that scale, but a slightly lower scale, to ensure that it kind of continues the momentum that is there. And I think in the third piece that is very important is the entire electricity sanctioning for charging infrastructure. We are able to lay out the wires, we are able to set up the infrastructure, do the civil work, but getting a meter connection is the most cumbersome time, and it kind of pulls away the entire IRR of the project. So if there are mechanisms that are created by where we are able to push getting electricity to a location, kind of really solves a lot of problems for us.
Well, Akshay Shekhar, thanks so much for joining us and helping break down some of those insights, and all the very best for those revenue targets that you at Kazam have set for yourself. Well, moving on to news from the job market next. IIT Hyderabad, it seems, is all set to rewrite its placement records. A final year computer science student from the institute has secured a 2.5 crore rupees per month placement package, the highest ever in the institute's history. Now, for context, IIT Hyderabad's previous high was a pay package of 1 crore rupees per annum offered back in 2017. Now, the offer in question this time around was made by global trading firm Optiva to 21-year-old BTech student Edward Nathan Varghese. The package is also by far one of the largest ones offered on campus across IITs in recent years. Interestingly, and according to some reports, Nathan converted a summer internship into a full-time role. He will now begin his stint at Optiva in the Netherlands starting July this year. Now, Nathan isn't new to academic success, scoring an impressive 99.96 percentile in the common admission test while earning an all-India rank of 120. He also served in the Office of Career Services at IIT Hyderabad, working with placement coordinators and other students to oversee placement activity on campus. Shifting focus to Tamil Nadu now, it's politics all the way, even as the ongoing SIR drive in the state has seen a total of 7.3 lakh claims and objections recorded in Tamil Nadu after updated electoral rolls were published a fortnight ago. The review period for these claims began December 19th, 2025 and is all set to end on the 18th of this month. Remember, when updated rolls were published on December 18th, a whopping 14 lakh voters' names were left out of the SIR updated electoral rolls after the special intensive revision itself. On to the 7.3 lakh objections now. The BJP accounted for the highest number of claims and objections, submitting 61,438 of them, followed by the Congress with 30,952 claims. The CPIM came in third with about 3,719 of these claims. Among state parties, the DMK recorded the highest number of submissions at 68,260, followed by the AIA-DMK at a close second with 67,286, and then the DMDK with 36,275. As we have been reporting for a whole month after updated draft rolls are published after the SIR exercise, voters and political parties have the option of submitting claims for either additions or deletions of names. The process is expected to be carried out across Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Puducherry and West Bengal in the run-up to assembly elections next year, or this year rather, since we're already in 2026. Staying with politics now, the Congress-led Karnataka government may have found itself red-faced after a recently conducted survey in the state came back with results pointing to overwhelming trust in EVMs and the overall electoral process. The reason for potential embarrassment has to do with the Congress and the party's leadership, or the leader of the opposition rather, Rahul Gandhi's ongoing claims of electoral malpractices in the context of EVMs. As per the results of the Karnataka government's poll, 83% of its respondents said they had absolute faith in EVMs and the electoral process in Karnataka. A lot of these responses, remember, were recorded in the context of the 2024 general elections. Moving on now, the fact is that even as this happens, the Congress government, remember, has continued to wage that campaign against EVMs itself, even though its electorate in Karnataka reposes full faith in the process. Now, staying with Karnataka itself, a Supreme Court appointed panel will inspect the Bannerghatta National Park after a petition against the state's 2018 order to fell trees in an eco-sensitive zone just outside Bengaluru. The park has been facing pressure from miners and real estate developers owing to potential for development within its landscape. The government has also decided to shrink the mutually agreed upon economic sensitive zone, or the ESZ, from 269 square kilometers to just under 169, while cutting down its width from 4 kilometers to just over a kilometer. A group of citizens and activists have since decided to approach the Apex Court in order to appeal the reduction of this zone of economic sensitivity, further to which the Supreme Court intervened and appointed the panel which will pay the visit to the park in order to assess the impact of such a reduction. More development news from Bengaluru. The state government may have come just a step closer to identifying the land parcel in order to build its high-profile 500 crore rupees sky deck project. The land parcel in question is a 46-acre plot near the Challagatta metro station, which Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar has inspected after it was shortlisted by the Bangalore Development Authority. What we are hearing is that the presence of the metro station in the vicinity was a key determining factor towards the government picking this plot for the project. The Skydeck project will see the government of Karnataka sanction the development of a 250-meter high tower that allows visitors a panoramic view of Bangalore itself. The project is expected to take form and shape at a total outlay of 500 crore rupees, giving the state's tourist sector a massive shot in the arm. Right, before we end, let's leave you with visuals of Tamil Nadu's famed Chettinad House in the state's Sivaganga district, which is now closing in on 100 years of existence. Built by two brothers from the Chettinad community in 1926, Sivaganga's Chettinad House is also seeing a reunion of the descendants of the famed family that built it. Over the weekend, 300 members of the extended Chettinad clan, comprising 50 branches today, got together for a reunion at the house, celebrating its legacy and the legacy of the family that built and lived in it. Well, talk about a rich family legacy in Tamil Nadu then, and the Chettinad House is one of the first landmarks that pops to mind. On that note, we've come to the end of this bulletin. Thanks so much for joining us in South Central today. Keep watching ET Now for more news and market action. We'll see you next week with more news and updates from South India. For the moment, it's goodbye from us.